51 and Senate Joint Resolution 68. And the chair calls Brandon Johnson, Charles Bryce Chapman, George Saldana. Those are the three witnesses that we have registered on, for, or against the Senate Bill 2051 and Senate Joint Resolution 68. And it looks like we have Brandon Johnson, Charles Bryce Chapman, George Saldana. If anyone else wishes to testify on, for, or against either or both of these measures, please come down to the table and let us know. Welcome to each of you, and we'll start over here. When you're ready, get situated and introduce yourself, give us your testimony.
Good afternoon. My name is George Saldana. I'm representing myself, and I'm for this bill. Thank you, Senator Birdwell, for bringing this. While SJR 68 represents a significant step forward in ensuring greater accountability, we must acknowledge the reality that the judicial branch in Texas has faced considerable challenges adhering to the law. Currently, there's a lack of effective oversight through the State Commission on Judicial Conduct, which has proven ineffective in holding judges accountable. The commission is often referred to as the toothless tiger by court officers due to the inability to impose meaningful sanctions. Texas can and must do better, particularly when it comes to safeguarding the interest of our children. It's imperative that we strive to impeach district court judges who fail to uphold the laws enacted by the Texas legislature and act in the best interest of our Texas children. As Chief Justice Blacklock noted in his State of the Judiciary address, a small percentage, approximately 2%, of judges are failing to meet the highest standards of conduct expected of them. These judges must be removed from office. We must do better. The power to impeach incompetent judges resides with this branch of government. I ask the Senate to help us do better, and it's clear that the self-governing body charged with regulating the judicial profession has failed the public. The current avenues for impeachment and sanctions are inadequate. This bill may pass, but there's no guarantee the judicial branch will adhere to these laws. If we are going to hold the governor accountable under these laws, it's equally essential that we impeach district court judges to be included in part of that process. I urgently need SJR 68 to become law to ensure that the government officials, particularly district court judges, are held accountable to the laws of this legislature and to the citizens of Texas. Thank you.
And thank you for your testimony. After we hear from each of the witnesses, we may have questions for you, so stick around. Thanks for your testimony. Welcome. Introduce yourself and go ahead.
My name is Bryce Chapman from Lubbock, Texas, and I'm in support of 2051 because it talks about the removal of judges. My concern is this bill's been thought out extensively, but I'd hope the wording which could include after a judge has been in office pertaining to their acting capacity while by an appointment. There's nothing in the bill that addresses appointed retired judges. They're already not current, retired judges are not. And under Chapter C of the 655 of this bill, they're not named. And who would remove them? Because they're not named in the bill. So SCJC won't do it. So my question is, who will remove these retired appointed judges for misconduct while sitting on these appointments that have committed improprieties concerning those suits at bar? I have seen where retired judges have abused the judicial process and then there's no accountability for them. So I would like to see that in there because it doesn't. It just talks about current appointed judges. So the expressed wording in the verbiage is not there. So I'd hope that it may be amended to do that because like he said, their words are no good on a piece of paper without accountability. So if it's implied for retired judges, it's not expressed, and that would just be my concern. And you could possibly put on number 9 of the bill to say any retired or appointed judge. It's just, I'm not an attorney, but it's just a thought. A wise man recently told me here in Texas that we can do better. And just the impropriety or the appearance of impropriety by elected officials or appointed judges is not acceptable. It's not an acceptable practice to be tolerated by we the people and then not hold them accountable, even retired judges that are just on appointment. Like the Declaration of Independence says, a prince who shows every act of a tyrant is not fit to be a ruler of free men. And I yield.
Thank you for your testimony. Welcome. Introduce yourself and go ahead.
My name is Brandon Johnson. Thank you, Senator Birdwell, for following this bill. I followed the impeachment of Ken Paxton last session, and it was quite interesting to watch how that unfolded. It seemed like it was kind of a witch hunt, and it seems like the bill that you've written kind of addresses some of those issues. And we'd like to think that any elected officials elected by the people has done so in good faith and that they're serving in good faith. But I share the sentiment of the two men to my right that I have seen that the judiciary has been known over time throughout history to usurp its power from the other two branches of government. And I have just seen over the last several years, after starting to pay attention to Texas politics, that the legislature and the executive branch has ceded a lot of power to the judiciary, and they've largely gone unchecked. Now, specifically to this bill, I read through the existing law, and I'm not an attorney by any means, I'm just a layman. But 665-001 and 665-0051, allude to who y'all are able to impeach. But it does not expressly, it's implied because a retired judge would, be a district court judge or fall under those categories. It's implied, but it's not expressed. And that's why I believe it is under 665-01051 that Bryce and I were looking at, that would be the number 9 where we could put, or where it could be amended to just add visiting or retired judges. And I like your wording, it's not probable, but it's possible that we could impeach a judge. And I'll just, say that we have just seen that the SCJC is not an effective oversight of the judiciary because they have this other panel that sits above them and largely vetoes their power to do anything and hold these judges accountable. And sometimes a small example is Chief Justice Blacklock said, a small example made out of these 1 or 2% of bad judges will send a message through the rest of the judiciary. Now, hopefully that can be done through other means than impeachment, but something that where they at least say, hey, these guys in the legislature are looking over us, may send a message that to clean themselves up and police their own. So thank you, sir.
And thank you for your testimony. Senator Birdwell, you have the panel.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I appreciate it. What you're describing is William Rolfe is one of the European philosophers that our founders quoted most often. He says, I'm broadly paraphrasing, but a man in public office will be apt to behave more likely if he knows there's a sanction against bad behavior. So that's what you're getting at. Each of y'all discussed again. Another area I didn't think through because I didn't think through appointed judges, but it sounds like what each of you were, because the last statewide, or not statewide, the last in-chamber impeachment before this one was the district judge case in the late 70s, I think it was. But what I think I hear you telling me is that once a judge is no longer in office, but is on the retired qualified visiting judge roster, that a regional presiding administrative judge may ask to be a visiting judge. I have that circumstance right now in Hill County. The new judge will get sworn in tomorrow, but right now I have a visiting judge that's retired handling the bench in Hillsborough. And there's no mechanism to sanction that individual if a visiting judge is making poor decisions, because the problem is they're not an office holder, because they're out of office. So in the specifics of what you've described, that's not, I don't think impeachment applies because they're not in office to be removed from office. But I'll ask the questions because because they're not in office but a practitioner of law, it may end up being a state bar, or as you'd mentioned, the Office of Judicial Conduct Review Commission.
Yes, sir.
But I'm going to have to ask the chief and the OCA, the Office of Court Administration, what the legislature's authority is to weigh in on retired judges that are acting with the color of law when they are on the bench as a visiting judge without the geopolitical subdivision in which he is visiting, having the ability to say yay or nay to their performance of duty. So I don't have the answer to your question, and I don't know that I can put it in the bill because it may take I think that would take us to the two subject, because I don't think it'd technically be impeachment. But let me chase some rabbits and see what the answer is. But I very much appreciate what y'all have told me. It may be another echelon we have to do differently, but I very much appreciate your counsel, because it's not an area I even thought of, like Senator Hall's question on ex-spouses. So thank y'all for telling me.
Well,
Yes, sir.
thank you.
Thank you.
And I'll look too, it seems, and I didn't make a note of it, but it seemed to say that there was a word in there about appointment. And that's why I've kind of breezed back through here.
Because here's the difference, and when you I don't have that 665 memorized, though I should, as many times as I've read it. If the governor appoints somebody that's formally called a nomination, but of the 11 regional presiding administrative judges we have, those are the judges that if I have to recuse myself or I'm going to take vacation, if I'm a sitting bench holder, I notify the regional presiding administrative judge, and that judge assigns a visiting judge to come take care of the docket in my absence or in my recusal of that particular case. That's an appointment not by the governor, but by the regional presiding administrative judge. I don't know what sanctions the regional presiding administrative judge has on that judge, but you're correct. There's no back end on the conduct of that judge. All three of you are exactly right. There's nothing on that back end other than maybe, the state bar or
Judicial Commission.
Judicial Conduct Review Commission.
Yes, sir.
So like I said, I got some information I got to go chase, but I'll do that and see how the situation develops.
Well,
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all for coming out.
there's currently an issue right now ongoing that we're all aware of this situation. That's why we were bringing it up.
Yep.
And thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Dismissed?
And Mr. Saldana, go ahead.
Oh, I was just asking if we were dismissed.
Oh, I was about to. I want to make
Oh,
sure
you
there's no
can
more.
ask me a question.
No, thanks. I was going to make sure there's no more questions. And Senator Hall, you have anything else for this panel? Great. We thank each of you for being here. Thank you for taking the time to come. And as you can see, this is a process where we listen and we learn in the process. So thank you for being here. You're
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to testify on, for, or against Senate Bill 2051? Seeing none, public testimony is closed. Senate Bill 2051 is left pending at this time. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on, for, or against Senate Joint Resolution 68? Seeing and hearing none, public testimony is closed. Senate Joint Resolution 68 will be left pending at this time.